Hey guys, this is Jonathan with Integral Camera Solutions. Today I'm reviewing this black box dash camera that I got off the TikTok store. I saw lots of people were selling it. They were doing quote reviews on it, although a lot of those reviews they didn't even use the camera. They just showed it and mentioned the features. So knowing it was only $20 from what all these people were saying, I decided to buy it and try it out. I run a YouTube channel where for almost 10 years now I've been testing and reviewing dash cameras, and I once in a while like to try these really cheap ones just to see how bad they are. Now many people will try to argue that anything is better than nothing, but I have several reasons why I disagree with that. Cheap cameras like this are known to fail sometimes within weeks. I actually have seen comments of people complaining that theirs didn't even last a month before it died. And, when you're using this for insurance purposes, you want something that's decent quality, and you can get that for around $60 to $100. Now, you could probably even find a better camera on Amazon for $20. What's unique about this one is it's 3 channels, so it's got a front camera, a rear camera, which is supposed to be good for, Uber drivers or anyone that wants to record inside of the car, but I'll tell you why that's awful and sucks. And then it's also got a rear camera that, you'll notice that both the interior camera and rear camera have IR lights, so that's supposed to be night vision. Now, I've heard people say that the front has night vision. It does not have night vision. It's just a regular camera. So a lot of people that review this, basically they've never even used the dash camera. They buy this because it's cheap and they know they can make commission by pushing it on TikTok. So the rear camera, there's a lot of dash cameras that have had cameras like this. It's only standard definition. You're going to have to mount it on the outside because if that IR is behind glass, it's going to be reflecting off the windshield and give you a terrible picture. And then you're going to have to wire this into your brake lights. So that's more difficult than most people are going to want to do. Now let's talk about why this camera is really bad and why I think you should spend a little bit more on something when you're going to depend on it for insurance purposes. Now the big thing a lot of people are going to wonder is the video quality. It says it's full HD 1080p. The video file definitely is 1080p. I'm not sure about the image sensor. It wouldn't surprise me if it's not actually full HD, because a lot of times a lot of these generic cameras, they use image sensors that aren't actually high enough definition to have true native high def, or more commonly these days there will be cheap cameras that say they're 4K, but they're not. They're really only 1080p sensors or 2K sensors, and they just output a file that's 4K, so you're not actually getting true 4K. You can see from this video, it's terrible quality. Even this 4-year-old Viofo A119 came out in 2019. I think you can get it for $65 on Amazon right now. While this TikTok one does look like it has more color, if you look at the license plates, they're terrible. If you look at how washed out the brightness is behind this car at night, it's just very low quality. One of the worst I've seen in many years. This is something you'd expect from a dash camera maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Now this rear camera, it is even worse. It's zoomed in, so even when I tried to place it further up on or further down my windshield, further away from me, it cannot actually see me in the picture. So if you were pulled over by a cop and want to be able to see yourself, you're going to have to spin the camera, but then the front camera is going to be looking off to the right. It's just really horrible quality, and these IR lights seem to do very little. They're so weak that it seems to only light stuff up that's directly in front of it. Can't even see the back seat, so most of the time it just looks like pure blackness. Similarly, this backup camera is only standard definition. Now, the camera can actually record to all 3 channels, but if this is connected, it's going to combine the interior video with this video into one file. So it looks like widescreen, but again, it's terrible quality. Now the screen itself actually isn't bad. That's one of the few nice things about this camera. but it's only 2 inches. So if you're going to be using that backup camera, which will plug in up here, it's so small you're going to have to squint, especially if it's, 3 feet away from your face on the windshield. It's just borderline useless as a backup camera, in my opinion. The one thing that surprised me, though, is this camera does actually use USB-C, but it almost seems like some really terrible knockoff version, because the plug, just when you plug it in, feels really weird. It doesn't plug in or feel like any other USB-C, but kudos to them for at least using USB-C. Now, one of the last things I wanted to talk about is the fact that this uses a battery, and most people that don't use dash cameras aren't going to know the significance of that, but I'll tell you, batteries in the hot sun, when your windshield is getting really hot on a summer day, are going to potentially swell and burst. I've had it happen to myself. Good dash cameras do not use batteries. They use supercapacitors. I opened this one up because the specs didn't say what was inside of it, and sure enough, it was a battery. So if you live in Texas, Florida, Arizona, this thing's probably going to die your first summer. I live in Minnesota, and back when dash cameras often used batteries, like 8 years ago, I had a battery-based dash camera burst, or the battery burst in my windshield. Basically destroyed the camera. It still recorded, surprisingly, but the picture or the video was completely ruined, and it was all because on a hot 90-some degree day, the battery sitting in my windshield couldn't handle that extreme heat. So that's one of the main reasons, besides video quality, you're not going to want this piece of crap. So guys, overall, again, don't waste your money on this. If you really care about using a dash camera for insurance purposes, at least spend $60 or $100 on something like a Viafo A119 V3, or if you can spend a little more than $100, one of their new models, the Mini 2, is an excellent camera. It's got a lot of advanced features. It's got a great Sony Starvis 2 image sensor. It's just leaps and bounds over this, and yeah, you're going to spend 5-6 times more. But when it comes down to saving possibly thousands of dollars in the event of a car accident, you don't want to depend on this. I've had some cheap cameras where I didn't realize that they stopped recording or the memory card went dead. And, with something like this, it's going to tell you or warn you that something's wrong. Or this, actually this came with a memory card, and it is a terrible memory card. It's really slow transfer rate. The weird thing is the video files are very high bitrate, even though they're low quality. So I noticed an 18-second clip that I recorded from this had a larger file size than a 4K video from my Blackview camera, which is a very high-end dash camera. And I don't know what the heck they're doing with this, why the bitrate is terrible. So that's another reason I just remembered why this camera is terrible. So guys, check out my profile. I have a YouTube link to my YouTube channel where I've tested and reviewed well over 130 dash cameras, I think now. And, Viafo's a brand to look at, Vantrue. There's a couple brands that I've reviewed, 70My recently, or the last few years. They're all good brands that sell models around $100 or even less, and they're going to be 10 times better than this, 20 times better than this. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you check out my YouTube channel, and I hope you follow my TikTok.